Hello everyone, Real Learn Magic here again, and I'm going to now continue the lesson in building. We need to start with one of those basic prims that I talked about in the last lesson. And here's my cube. Let's go over the Edit menu, and that's what appears after you've created an item. But if you need to modify a prim that's already out there, or an item, or an object, you just right-click on it and then click Edit, and you get that same menu. I'm going to go through the different options listed here and explain what they mean. First is position. Position allows you to move where the item or object is within the world around you. Next is to rotate. You just click and drag on the circles and it rotates the object around that axis. Now if you wanted to square it back up, you just use those cardinal directions and drag it to one of those points. Next is to stretch. Now stretching works in coordination with this other one over here called stretch both sides. Currently stretch both sides is checked, so when I stretch an item, see, as you see, up and down, both ends on that axis will expand. Each axis has its own stretching, and then you can do the whole item in a corner, which makes it bigger or smaller in proportion to how it was before. Now if you remove that check on stretch both sides, now when I stretch it, it only affects the one side, and it will change the proportions of the object. And checking again, you see it goes back to both sides moving at once. Next is to select texture. This allows you to select one side of the object, as you can see, and you can change the texture on that side of the object without affecting the texture on the other sides, and we'll cover that more when we go through the texture tab, which is under here in the more section. There's a texture tab there, but it's a little bit more complicated, so we're not going to do much with it at the moment. And then stretch textures goes along with the select texture, and in general you'll want to just keep that checked to change the proportion of the texture to the side or the object. It's a much more advanced skill and not something you're probably going to need to use in this class. Next is use grid. That's the grid that you saw as I was stretching it out, allowing you to see how big. See, now I have it at 2 meters long. It's a really handy tool. Removing it simply takes away the ability to see how big an item it is. And the same thing with the rotating, you no longer get to see the cardinal directions. So you'll want to just keep use grid checked. It's really handy. The final one here is edit linked parts. This is used in coordination, well, with any of them, but as my object here is only one prim, I can't show you, but if you remember the chair here from the last video, it is made up of multiple parts. There's 4 legs, the base, and the top, so there's 6 prims of this item in this object. So if I edit link parts, I can now make changes to just one part of the chair without affecting the rest of it, because the whole chair is linked together. So when I don't have that marked, the position will move the entire chair. When I do have that checked and I select just one piece, it only moves that one piece. And that is the top part of the edit menu.